your commuters, your residents, your students, your alums, your lawyers, your truckers, your calls, your tweets. And we'll give you rock, classic, indie, punk, alternative, easy, hard, raps, rhymes, mixes, and drops. We'll give you kick-ass music because we're WPSC 88.7 FM, Brave New Radio. Sound good?
WPSC FM 88.7, Wayne, New Jersey.
Part of the William Paterson Broadcast Network, Brave New Radio.
The views and opinions expressed on this show are solely those of the host and guest and are not necessarily supported by WPSC 88.7 FM, station management, or the station owner, William Paterson University. Anyone wanting to offer differing opinions may do so by calling the show at 973-720-2738. Abusive callers will be rejected. Now here's your program on WP 88.7 FM, Brave New Radio.
Good morning, good morning. Good morning to you. And I tell you all the time, as soon as I put on the intro music, the theme song, it gives me a new burst of energy sitting here in the chair listening to that. I feel like I'm in the studio recording that all over again because, as I tell you each week, that's an original recording by yours truly. That's on the CD, The Wrinkled Rag. Matter of fact, that's the title track that's playing right now. I'm using that as my theme song, and every time I put the headphones on and I hear that, I relive the studio experience all over again. If you can hear my voice, you're listening to another edition of The Reading Circle with Marc Medley. And I'm excited again because everything is in place. My guest is on the line. All the equipment is working as it should. I am up and alive. Thank God for that. So that means we can get underway with our usual ritual and routine. If you've been listening for any time in the show or any time in our history, you know that I read from 2 books, give you the weather, introduce our guest, and then our conversation is on. And I'm going to apologize if my voice sounds a little froggy this morning. Over the last couple of days, I've had to play the stern father figure in my school. And playing that meant I had to yell and holler sometime as a stern father would. I had to show them a different side of me. They had to see not just the quiet Mr. Medley, they had to see the Mr. Medley that could sound like the strict and stern father. So because of that, my voice may be sounding a little froggy this morning, but that's all right. Because in the end, I will get the result that I'm looking for. So I'll tell you, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce and share the weather with you. As I was driving up to the studio, they were telling me it was 15 degrees. It did not feel like 15 degrees because the weather report right now is telling me it's 6.1. We're moving up to a high of 29. Expect abundant sunshine today. A low of 8 this evening. It's going to be clear, but low of 8. Then tomorrow, Sunday, variably cloudy with snow showers, high of 32. Only going to lose 4 degrees between the day and the night of moving to a low of 28, but they say snow in the evening will become a mix of wintry precipitation overnight. A low of 28, expect 1 to 3 inches. This is a stubborn winter here. She just will not give up. Monday, some clouds in the morning will give way to mainly sunny skies for the afternoon. 20% chance of precipitation, high of 39, low of 13. Monday night is going to be clear, but the low again is going to be 13 on Tuesday. A mix of clouds and sun in the morning, followed by cloudy skies during the afternoon, high of 34, moving to a low of 29. Tuesday night, a wintry mix in the evening that will transition to mainly rain late, low of 29. And then rounding out the forecast Wednesday, we have an 80% chance of some type of precipitation. It says light rain, high of 48. There's an 80% chance of that light rain. And then Wednesday night, evening rain followed by a mix of rain and snow. 90% chance of that precipitation. 31 as the low on Wednesday night. That is the weather brought to you right here from the WP 88.7 FM Weather Center. As I said, if you've been listening to the show any amount of time, we do have a morning ritual and routine, just like a classroom. We start reading from 2 books, and one of them is called What Can Happen When We Pray. And for February 28th, it says, from What Can Happen When We Pray, Our God Will Satisfy. Today's prayer, praise the Lord, Lord, we are satisfied in you. You have done so many great things in our lives, and we are satisfied with you. Words cannot express how grateful we are that you are in our lives. And for our satisfaction, we glorify and adore thee, giving thee honor and praise. Amen. Today's reflection. When David was in the wilderness hiding from his enemies, he felt discouraged, uncertain, and alone. David called on the Lord. In this place of wilderness and starvation, David praised God and proclaimed that God would satisfy him, and he did. There are the times when we too are in difficult places. I know that's right. When emotional stress and tensions are high, I know that's right. In those times, we are to look to God. We are to open our mouths and to praise God, proclaim the blessings of God, and bring forth praises to God. Just as God met David in the wilderness, God will comfort us. See, this one I'm going to have to hang on my wall in my office, because we all get discouraged sometimes. And I know with the school that I'm leading, every now and again, you do get discouraged. But at the same time, you know there's hope, because you know God is using you to change things and to turn things around. So I think I'm going to copy that one and post that one on my wall. For February 28th, Iyanla Van Zant says in her book, Until Today, I will know love when I realize love may embrace some of the stuff I do not want to see. If you are a woman looking for a man to love, stand up. Go ahead. No one is looking, stand up. If you are a man looking for a woman to love, stand up. Don't let your ego get in the way. Stand up. Now look around. Open your heart and your mind and look. What do you see? Do you see too short, too tall? Do you see lack of education or too much pride? Do you see fat, thin? Do you see black, white? Do you see another one just like the other one? The one you tried it with before? Do you see too much money, not enough money? If you are looking for a mate, rest assured there's someone somewhere who is standing up right now looking for you. Perhaps you just can't see each other because of all the stuff you're looking for. Or maybe you can't find anyone because of all the stuff you refuse to look at. Until today, you may have been searching for a mate with all of the right stuff. Just for today, broaden the parameters of your search. Open your heart and mind to all of the stuff that is available, including some of the stuff you may have refused to look at. Today I'm devoted to opening my heart and mind to some new stuff. This new thing I do. All right. That's February 28th out of the book Until Today by Iyanla Van Zant. We read from those 2 books each Saturday morning. Just kicks off the rest of the morning and keeps us in a positive vein. I tell folks all the time, I'm not proselytizing, not trying to convert. There is a time and place for that. This is not it. But those 2 books, they kick my show off in a positive vein, and the rest of the morning just flows. As I said, my guest is on the line, and he is not a stranger to me, and I don't think he's going to be a stranger to too many of you, except for those of you listening around the world, and he may not be a stranger to you either. Mr. William Raheem Smallwood is a recipient of many awards, such as the National Association of Black Social Workers, Who's Who in America, Mayor's Civic Award, State Assembly Award, Paterson Municipal Council, NAACP, to name a few. He is a consultant and board member to numerous organizations, one of the top certified trainers and nutritionists in the state, motivational speaker, and author. He is a lifelong resident of the great city of Paterson, the 3rd largest city in the state of New Jersey, and has 2 children and 2 grandchildren. Welcome to the Reading Circle microphones, none other than Mr. William Raheem Smallwood. Raheem, good morning.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
I am well, thank you. As you said earlier, whenever we called, this time on Saturday mornings, I'm accustomed to getting up, so I'm awake and alive.
Yes, sir. God gave us this morning, right?
Yes, he did. And like I said, now, I'm not this alive every morning during the week because I wake up a little bit later during the week. But on Saturdays, my body is programmed to wake up at 4:30 a.m., because I get excited just knowing I'm going to get a chance to talk to great people like you on the air and to share your stories and hopefully to inspire, encourage, educate, and entertain those who are listening around the world. Because not only do we broadcast here in the northern New Jersey area, we also broadcast around the world on webcast, web stream on gobrave.org. So I am constantly promoting the show to all my social media sites so that anyone anywhere in the world can tune in to gobrave.org, turn on their speakers, and they'll be able to hear our story.
Excellent.
So I tell you what, we're going to share some information with the listening audience, and then we're going to come right back in and dive right into all the things that we read about in your bio and work our way right up to your latest release in terms of your book. So I'm going to ask the listening audience, you know the routine. And for those of you who are new, the routine is this. You're going to get on all your social media sites and you're going to tell somebody or get on your cell phone and text somebody that Raheem Smallwood is on the air with me and they are to tune in to gobrave.org. So all of them, regardless of which ones you're on, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, whichever ones you're on, Facebook, all of them. Get on there and tell somebody to go to gobrave.org right now, particularly if they're up. And Raheem, I get on social media at this time of morning and see how many people are tweeting and texting and carrying on. It's amazing how many people are up this time of morning. They're up and on their computers. So my thing is, if you're up and on your computer, then tune in.
That's right.
Listening audience, you know what to do. Hang out for a couple of seconds, a couple minutes, and we'll be right back. Actually, I'm not going anywhere. I tried to get away from that phrase because I'm not going anywhere, and I don't want you to go anywhere either. I want you to share the information, get closer to your speakers. That's the only movement I need you to make.
Think carrying 10 or 20 pounds of extra weight isn't much? We went to a park, handed 10 and 20-pound sandbags to people aged 45 to 60, and asked if we could follow them around.
10 pounds makes a big difference. Oh, I definitely felt it in my knees.
A few extra pounds each year can cause joint pain and lead to serious chronic diseases like diabetes and heart disease. Wouldn't you like to drop that weight and stop picking up more? Visit hhs.gov/1 pound at a time to find out how. Obesity happens 1 pound at a time. So does preventing it. Brought to you by HHS and NIH.
I started going cold turkey. Well, at least when I'm in the car.
I know I shouldn't do it, but it's so hard to stop. That's why I hide it from myself, so I won't be tempted.
I used to do it all the time. I stopped by locking it in my glove compartment.
My friend used to do it way too much. Now I turn it off when we're in the car.
My solution is simple. I just don't do it.
There are lots of ways to stop yourself and others from texting and driving. How will you stop? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Dog Show. Up next, we have Satchmo. Satchmo is a member of the Shelter Pet Group.
That's right, a group known especially for their couch-snuggling, ball-chasing, face-licking, and, of course, companionship. Now, let's see him in action.
Look how he makes eye contact with his person.
That's actually known as the treat stare.
How intuitive, and now he appears to be excitedly turning in circles.
Ah, the happy dance so common with this group.
But really, the best way to know an amazing shelter pet like Satchmo is to meet one.
Visit theshelterpetproject.org today. Adopt.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to The Reading Circle with Marc Medley on Brave New Radio.
Yes, indeed, you are. You're listening to The Reading Circle with your host, Marc Medley. We're heard live each Saturday morning from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock a.m., where I interview authors. And then, like this morning, I have a Reading Circle doubleheader. So I have a second guest coming in the 7 o'clock hour. And then the third hour, we'll put on the gospel music, the good news and song. Every now and again, we do a Reading Circle tripleheader, where we have 3 guests. But this morning, we have a doubleheader. I have my guest on the line here in this hour, and that is none other than Raheem Smallwood. So I'll tell you what, we're going to roll the tape all the way back, Raheem, in terms of how did you, or what made you decide to do the work that you do in terms of social work and working with children and particularly African-American males? Well, let's talk a little bit about that. What caused you, or what drove you to go into that field?
Well, actually, I was a student at Maripold College, and it was my first time actually leaving home. I'm the oldest of 8 brothers and sisters, and my parents decided that it was time for me to leave the nest and shipped me off to Maripold College. At Maripold College, I met a lot of influential and mentors who talked to me about culture and history and giving something back to my community. And it started actually there. At the time, South Africa was at the peak of conversation and political unrest in this country and around the world. And I had a couple of professors who brought me into the African Studies Department and said, we really need you guys to become more active in your communities. We need you to go back into your communities and do work and educate your communities as to what's going on. And that kind of sort of gave me, a push to become more active. I had no idea exactly what it is I wanted to major in or what I wanted to do. But I would meet different people who were from Paterson who were actually taking classes at night. I would have professors, adjunct professors. Gil Noble came through. Amiri Baraka came through. A host of other people came through. I had professors who would take me into Harlem, into Abyssinian Baptist Church in the basement, where, I would meet people like Milano Karenga and G2 Waisu and other guys who were actually doing rites of passage work. So a lot of it began in college, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And came home, graduated in 1987, and like so many of us, looking for work, had all this energy, ready to make a difference in my community, in the world. And someone said, go see a gentleman named Al Moody. So I sought Mr. Moody out. He was actually teaching football at, I think it was Pennington Park. And I went over and introduced myself to him. And he said, listen, bring me a resume, but also I want you to come to a meeting. And at the time, he was the director at the Youth Services Bureau, which was over the Eyeglass Place on Broadway, around the corner from St. Luke. And I went to that meeting, and it was a meeting about rites of passage programs. So I met Mr. Moody's staff. I met Henry Baker at the time, who was coaching at Eastside High School and teaching, a young Charles Thomas, who many of us know as Charles Thomas, the attorney, who also works for the city of Paterson, and a host of other men. And they started introducing me to rites of passage, what rites of passage was all about, what it takes to run a rites of passage program, and it cultivated from there. To classes, wound up traveling to different cities, different states, meeting some of the top people in the field of rites of passage. I mean, one of them in terms of his work, Jawanza Kunjufu.
Oh, yeah.
Started going to Chicago. Yeah, stopped in Chicago. Hakeem Adabuti, writer.
That's right.
Entrepreneur. I did some work with Hakeem Adabuti, and just people from all walks of life, man, who were doing this thing around rites of passage. And I tell you, Mark, it was mind-blowing because I had never seen that many young men going through male mentoring rites of passage programs, Steps to Be Men. And, I mean, I would walk into gyms, and we know how we walk into a gym and it's filled when there's a basketball game.
That's right.
I would walk into gym, and young men would be literally going through rites of passage. Stern, discipline, standing straight, erect, proud, and it was just amazing. And interesting enough, it's still happening. We just don't get to see that side. We hear about Chicago and other places, and we see the violence, and they never talk about the rites of passage programs, and they're still going on. So that was my intro, and it I guess I kind of cultivated from there, where the program at that time was called AA Minds, African American Minds, and Mr. Moody and those other gentlemen kind of dropped it in my lap and said, listen, it didn't take off the way we wanted it to, so I asked him if it was okay if I kept it going, and I just started doing it out of my house with the support of some brothers from the community, and since 1997, here we are, 900 young men later, here we are.
Now, your organization is B.U.D.S.
Correct.
And, everything I do is educationally connected. And I'm sitting here, I'm amazed at how many times the name on this show of various guests bring up the names of an Al Moody or Henry Baker or Michael McDuffie or your name, or I've heard other names of folks that have said how they were such. I've heard Pete Nelson. I mean, I've heard Dale Van Rensselaer. I mean, I've heard like the Paterson. But what just popped into my mind as you were saying those names was, you know what? And I know all these brothers. I know all these people.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to get you all together, and we're going to do something for the boys at Napier Academy.
That's a great idea.
Whether it's an assembly program, whether it's like some by grade level conversations or something. But I am determined that we're going to break that stallion. We're going to break that mare. And just when you started saying how all these different names that you named off, it popped into my, I'm going to get all these, I'm going to call all these brothers. If they have to come in one Saturday or one afternoon, because a lot of them are retired now, if they have to come in one afternoon every day at 2 o'clock or whatever, and just I'll pull my boys out and let them talk to them. But we're going to do some type of rites of passage too. And I know your organization is B.U.D.S, and it's B-U.D.S, B period, U period, D period, S period. The letters stand for something. Tell us a little bit about what they stand for.
Right. It stands for Brothers United Developing Spiritually. And as I stated a minute ago, it's a rites of passage program that walks young men through what steps you need to take, number one, to become men. Rites of passage is something that's always existed within the continent of Africa, and there are various rites of passage programs through other religious and cultural affiliations too. But rites of passage for men of African descent has always been something that's been done. I was just meeting with my guys recently, and we start our program off by talking about what are the steps that young men have to take to become men, and there are 7 basic steps that they have to really repeat before each group, and it's on all of their clothing, on their materials, on our hoods, and it's putting God first is a sign of strength, not weakness. The second one is study your history, love yourself, family, and your community. The third is you are destined to be independent and responsible. The fourth is always respect African-American women. The fifth is, we were born male, not men. To become a man, we have to take these steps, learn the art and science of manhood. And the sixth is study, pursue your dreams, develop your talents for a career, or start your own business. And then the seventh is, if you want to be successful, then hang and run with those students who are successful. Therefore, you won't be a failure. And then it breaks down into 3 main disciplines. Who are you? What are you doing that says you're about who you say you are? And how does that support you, your community, and your family? And we use the 7 stages, 7 steps of rites of passage through the Nguzo Saba, which is Kwanzaa. We actually use those 7 principles.
That's right.
Kuumba, Umoja, being unity, Kuti Jaculia, self-determination, Ujama, cooperative economics, Kuumba, creativity, Imani, so forth, meaning faith, Nia, purpose, so forth and so on. And I use those because it's non-religious, but it's culturally based and it's spiritual. And it supports the other work, which is those 7 stages of male development, and it supports those 3 other main areas that we're looking at a focus, So I try to make sure that I utilize those areas of development so that it allows young men to have flexibility, but also targets the number one thing that I see as a concern for us, which is how are young men, especially young men of African descent, how are they looked at? And how does that play out in the various things that they do? How do they see education?
That's right.
How do they see themselves? How do they see family? And as you and I talked about in your office, what is their level of respect for the individual standing before them? Like what I always tell my young men, when elders walk in the room, you have a responsibility to stand up and address them. No adult whatsoever should walk past you and you don't open your mouth,
That's right.
We don't walk around with our pants down, sagging. We don't walk with our shoulders slapped down. We don't put our head down. We speak clearly. We stand strong. We understand who we are as a culture and a people. So therefore, we carry ourselves on the shoulders of those that came before us. And when we don't do that, we set ourselves up for failure and we insult our ancestors. So we realize the importance of rites of passage as being something that's always been a part of who we are. And I believe that as we look at all the other areas, as we talked about in your office, and as you so clearly pointed out has to be done in your school, we have to set a certain culture, of
no
discipline
question.
And respect and responsibility for our young men.
There is no question. Keep going.
Yeah. So when I got the task, I had no choice but to run with it. I never questioned it twice. Like you said, I wake up every morning, with new vigor and bars and drive to see how can I get better with me first, taking a look at me, working on me, and then seeing how and what I need to do to provide to each and every young man that I work with. And I have to tell you, man, you know, I would love to say and tell you that it's easy, but each and every day, you know, God blesses you with that challenge. You have to look in the mirror and say, I take this task, I take this challenge. When somebody else might want to, I'm going to take it a whole nother further step. Because there's always somebody leaning out there that says, nah, it ain't even worth it. Why you bothering? They're not going to change. Parents ain't going to support you. You know, not realizing that you have no choice because
That's
it was
right.
given to you by the elders and it was given to you by the Creator.
That's right. And there's no question, and I'm going to share some more information with the listening audience in a minute, but if you've just joined us, audience, I hope you've been with us since 6 o'clock or before, for that matter. My guest this morning is William Raheem Smallwood, and we're talking about an extremely important topic. While you were talking, Raheem, I've been on Hootsuite, which connects to all of my social media sites, telling folks, look, this is a must-listen-to interview. If you have a son, or if you deal with African-American males, or girls for that matter, or it doesn't matter what race they are.
That's right.
We're targeting African-Americans because there is a problem in particular for a lot of different reasons. And this is Black History Month. Matter of fact, the last day of Black History Month this year. So this is an appropriate topic that we're talking about. And I know what I live and see every day. And it was like maybe a year ago or 6 months ago, I was at the auto shop. I was having my car fixed, and the television was on. And the show was The Price is Right. And Wayne, Let's Make a Deal. I'm sorry. Wayne, I forget the brother name. He's the comedian, but he's now the host of that show. Whatever Wayne's last name is. And he had two young ladies on there. One was African American and one was Caucasian. And they were friends, I believe they were friends. And he asked them, the first question he asked the young lady was, what do you do? And the African American young lady, she proudly and loudly proclaimed, I'm a single mother.
Oh.
And so, and then the Caucasian girl right next to her said, well, I'm a student at such. So Wayne gave this look to the African American girl. I could still look at the expression. He didn't say it. And I know I thought it as well. It's like, well, that's not what you do. I mean, you may, you may be a student, you may work here, and you're a single mother, but that's not what you do. And where I'm going with this is, I'm connecting it to, I've heard too many women loudly and proudly proclaim as it is a badge of honor to talk about this thing of being a single mother. Now, the reason you're a single mother could be various reasons, whether it's death, divorce, breakup, whatever. Sometimes some is by force, some is by choice, because some of them were never married, some of them were never with the guy. They wanted to be baby mama and baby daddy and all this. And where I'm going with is the result of this is a lot of African-American males who are out there fatherless or male role model absent. And I know, even our kids were doing our Black History Month celebration, and Raheem, I had about 4 boys come to me, and I had to tie their ties. Had no clue as to how to tie a tie. And I can remember every time I do that for a young man, I remember my father teaching me on the bedpost of how to tie a tie. I remember me putting the tie around the bedpost and learning how to flip it over and under. And same thing on a doorknob. And every time I do that for one of these boys, I'm like, wow, they don't have another male to teach them how to tie a tie. And I was, God blessed, I had my family intact in terms of mother, father, me and my sister in the household. I understand everybody doesn't have that. And because of that, organizations like yours and folks like me and Al Moody and all these other names, we have to step in. Because sometimes we blame our boys when the truth be told, they've never been taught.
Thank you.
When you were talking about, when an elder comes in the room, you ought to stand up and say, hello, my name is whatever. They've never been taught that.
That's right.
What they have been taught, though, is to curse somebody out. That they've been taught. And now, whether it was like a formal teaching or just by observation, that they've been taught. I had a 9-year-old yesterday cursing out a bus driver that was old enough to be his grandmother. That's why my voice is the way it is this morning, because I hollered at that boy so hard. That's why my voice is the way it is this morning, because I had a few I'm not taking it. I'm not taking any prisoners. I'm on the warpath. This boy was like 9, 10 years old, and he said the F-bomb to this woman that was a bus driver that was old enough to be his grandmother. I lost it with that little joker. How dare you come back at her? with those words. This woman is old. I mean, this is the bus driver and the aide. They had come to my office talking about this little boy. Said, he lives the closest, the youngest, and gives us the most trouble. And I said, well, he don't need to be on the bus then. Then so he was suspended, and after he talked to her the way he did, I said, son, I called his mother. You're suspended from the bus for the next 5 days. Now, you're not suspended from school, but you are suspended from riding that bus for the next 5 days just based on how you talked to this woman in my office. Because she was telling me what he was doing on the bus, and he was denying and talking about, I don't like this bus, I don't want to get on this bus, I don't like her, and da-da-da-da-da. That's why my voice is the way it is this morning. I hollered at that boy so hard I know what to do.
And that is so interesting because I've been in your office, and I know when he walked in there, you know, he just looked around in awe. And I know you all had the type of conversations that you have with young men in your office because your office is a walking museum with nothing but positive black men that have made a difference, not just in Paterson, but in the world and through history. So I already know, just like your office, when they walk in my office, they look around, and the conversation from the behavior shifts to why you should be doing the opposite type of behavior, what's expected of you, and how we can address the behavior that you just exhibited. So I can imagine what that conversation was like, and I'm glad you raised that because I noticed the same thing over the maybe the last, I could say even maybe 8 to 10 years, and you know this being in the profession of education, that our young brothers are getting more younger and more out of control at a younger age. A lot of the phone calls I'm getting now is around that age group, around that 10, through 14 age group. And I would usually get the phone calls for the 13 to maybe like 17-year-olds.
Yes.
And you and I both know with young African-American males, with young boys here, but mostly African-American males, 7, they start to become independent, self-sufficient, which is actually what they're supposed to. But like you said, because the fathers are not in the household either on a regular or they like to use that term, quote-unquote, co-parenting, our mom just doesn't let son leave the nest, we find that there's a whole other type of energy that's coming from them and it's not being properly addressed.
That's right.
Moms are trying to address it and they're doing the best they can in some instances, but they don't know the strategies. And the dads who are there, we find that, especially with the ones I work with, because, I do the fatherhood program too, what I find is a lot of them didn't have dads in their lives. And it's quite,
that's right.
We constantly hear them being under attack. He ain't nothing, he ain't no good. He's going to be just like your father. You look like your father. He don't pay his child support. He don't know how to be a father. I say, oh, stop right there. And I start asking them, tell me, about your son's dad. And probably 70 to 80% of the time, their dad didn't have that relationship with them, even if he was there. Because like you said, even with tying the tie, I mean, you know this too. Speaking to the choir, I have young men when we have to, go to a formal program. Sometimes I have to give them a tie.
Same here.
They have no shoes.
That's right. But that was the first question one of the young men asked. He came to my office and said, Miss Perry sent me up to ask you, did you have and now that he said it, I'm going to have to put some of my old ties in my office to have it there.
Oh, yeah.
Because he came up and said, Miss Perry said, do you have an extra tie in your office that I can wear?
That's
and
right.
I said, no, actually, I don't. But now that he's brought that to my attention, I looked at my tie rack the other day. I said, I'm going to pull out about 5 or 10 of these that I don't wear much and just put them in there. And in that situation, I'll have something that the child can wear. But you're right. They don't have like the same kid. I had to tell him, look, if you're going to wear a tie, you got to put your shirt in. You can't. I tied the tie on him and his shirt was out. And I said, no, you got to put the shirt in. But Raheem, it really is a matter of us teaching, and because they're not being taught. Yes, I'm telling you, I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying my voice is like this for a reason, because not only did I have that young man on the bus to deal with yesterday morning, I had a young man come in my office, again, around that 10, 11, 12 age group. I called him down to my office to ask him a question. He turned around talking about, I don't have no time for this. I didn't do nothing, and walked out of my office. What did he do that for? I got up from behind my desk, and I went through that door, and I asked the secretary, did he walk out that door? She said, yes, he did. I went behind that door, Raheem. I grabbed his little butt and dragged him back in my office. I closed that door, and I read him the right act. Who the hell you think you are walking out of the principal's office when the principal has summoned you to the office and you got the nerve to walk out of it? I tell you what, he didn't leave it before I gave him permission again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the challenge, right? Now the report has turned into a relationship.
Yeah, right. Because I had 3 boys leave my office in tears yesterday. They thought they were in the military, and I was okay with that because they need to see that side. They thought I was a drill sergeant. They really did. And I'll bet you what, like you said, the relationship is going to change. One of them told me he had been throwing crayons in the class, so the 2 teachers brought him down. He's going to tell me what 2 teachers didn't see.
Of course not.
And so he told me that was in their imagination. I said, 2 people imagine you throwing a crayon at the same time? I said, so we had group hallucination. Two people imagined at the same time you were throwing a crayon. Yes. I said, okay, you got Saturday detention. He told me I ain't coming.
That becomes their reality.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you said, across the board, usually when I go into schools, those are the type of stories that I get. I think I was sharing with you with one of the young men I work with, 6th grade. You know, his reality is that when he finishes his work, he should be allowed to go around the room and help everyone else.
Right.
And the problem with that is that it doesn't matter what time he's done, he's going to finish before everyone else. Whether his work is completely done or halfway done, and he's going to go support everyone else. So the teacher's attitude was, he's disrespecting me. He's not respecting my position as a teacher. He's trying to take control of the classroom. So what I had to do with her was give her strategies to show her that it wasn't so much that he was probably just trying to disrespect you. It's just that he takes the position that, listen, I can go and help my peers. I can help you out. But like you said, we have to teach them.
We have to teach
the time
them.
and place for everything and how to use that energy the right way without looking at it like, hey, I have to discipline. She wanted to suspend the kid. And I was trying to say, wait a minute. How did you get out of trying to support his peers and trying to support you to suspension?
But see, that's why I have to work.
The ego sometimes kicks in.
That's right, because I'm constant. Now, the other challenge on the other end in my job is I have to help the teachers understand suspension is not a form of classroom management.
That's right.
And for too many of staff members, and not just mine, I'm sure around the country, too many of staff members try to use suspension as a form of classroom management. In other words, just get this kid out of my hair, get him out of my classroom. No, that's not the answer.
That's right.
That's not the answer. It's a matter of teaching them. And the more that we're having this conversation, more and more ideas are popping into my mind of people I can get to work with, because it really is a matter of, once the boys are being taught, I do believe they will respond. And I know for a fact, I had about maybe 6 months ago, David Banks was on here from the Eagle Academy. I had him as a guest, David C. Banks. And David and I talked as well. We can get these kids where we need them to go, but there's 2 things that needs to happen. One, I need all of the teaching staff on board, and the other thing is I need the Board of Education and central office and all these other folks to get out of my way. And I need their support. I need them to back me up whenever there's something that needs to be done, but I need them to get out of my way with all these different compliance issues and state mandates and yada, because that's taken away from a lot of stuff we need to do too. A lot of the things that we could do in these schools are being taken away with a whole lot of distractions that are compliance related, or state related, or this related, and that testing related. That we really could turn these schools around if we got some of that crap out of the way. But since we can't, we have to deal with it. But just listening to you, there's some creative things that we can do with these boys that I know will turn these buildings.
Yes.
Because a lot
and we
of
can
it.
talk further about them too.
Yes, we can.
And I know we will, because we and I have already talked. But there's a lot of ideas that I can share with you that I know. And you said David Banks, good job in terms of work he's doing. And there's so many others. I mean, B.U.D.S.
He's the one that popped in my mind in terms of coming over to work with the boys. Him, all the names B.U.D. I've been trying to get B.U.D. on the show at some point because he's all over the place now.
I'll give you a contact for B.U.D. We were just together recently, and we were together a few times recently.
Oh, we know each other. That's what I'm saying. We go back and forth with each other all the time. I just haven't been able to nail him down to get on here.
Yeah. But like you said, there's just so many things that we can do. Ideas that I know work. And the thing, and you and I talk about this all the time too, the thing that sometimes people fail to realize, and I just had this long conversation with a parent, because son is up and down, up and down, up and down, is that the behavior just didn't start today.
That's correct.
So as we look at those different levels of behavior, we have to address each one. Sometimes even with teachers and all professionals, even in my field of work, as social workers, the idea usually around social work is that you establish a rapport and you send the person out in the world to deal with whatever else they got to do until the next time I see you. Whereas for us, we operate, and I always tell my staff and the people that I come in contact with, we operate on a different level of thinking.
Right.
Our procedures towards finding success is establishing a relationship. And it has to be ongoing because, as you know, that's what the kid and the parent are looking for. They're looking for strategies that you have to continuously provide information and resources and support. And like you and I know, this is a 24/7 job. You can't do this in a half an hour and say, okay, thank you for bringing your son in. See you next time. Here's your next appointment. You know, you might be able to do that if you're a dentist, you know, but if you're in this field of work where you're working with young men, you better get ready to keep them bags packed, keep that phone close,
right,
you know, and realize that we have to convince moms, especially moms raising their sons, that it's a process and it's going to take some time, that there's going to be some success, and then he's going to roll over and do something crazy. He's going to come home one time,
right,
then he's going to see that girl he liked. I mean, you know, we have to be patient in what we do, and we have to keep on changing the game. Okay, this worked today, but that ain't going to work tomorrow. I mean,
right.
Like, for instance, you know, the whole idea of today is a good day. My book came out of that whole concept that I was doing rites of passage. And as I said earlier, I realized that with a lot of the young men that I was getting phone calls around, you know, they just had no idea what having a good day looked like.
And I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to share this information, and we're going to transition right into that. Because I got so excited with what we were talking about. The real reason I brought Raheem on the show was to talk about his book. But all of this led up to the book. So I'm going to quickly share this information with you, and we're going to transition into that. So a listening audience, you know what to do. Let somebody know that this is an extremely important conversation that we're having, and it could wind up saving some child's life. It's that important.
50 feet, turn left. Why are you driving so slowly?
After a few drinks, I'm taking it slow.
Well, you're not fooling the cop behind you.
What?
Get ready to pay in 0.1 miles.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi, my name is Stan Myers, and I'm here at FM 88.7. I do a jazz show called Just a Mood. And if you like the music, anything from Louis to Lester Bowie, I'm your man. That's Sunday afternoons, 3 to 6. Looking to hear from you, okay?
You're listening to The Reading Circle with Marc Medley on Brave New Radio.
Yes, indeed. You are listening to a hot edition of The Reading Circle with Marc Medley. My guest is Raheem Smallwood, and we're talking about some things that can be done to address some of the issues going on with our African-American children, boys and girls for that matter. Raheem, I was listening to the Yolanda Adams morning show a couple of mornings ago, and Yolanda Adams says, what the child does at home is what the child will do in the world.
That's right.
And I could not have amened her more. And she said, what the child, because you get this thing all the time, well, he doesn't do that at home. I don't know why he's doing it here. I said, now, he may not be doing the exact same thing at home, but he's doing something like it. And you were talking right before I shared the information about how it didn't just start today. A lot of it started because when they were babies, a lot of that stuff that the parents knew were wrong, they sat there and laughed at and said, oh, that's so cute. No, that's not cute. It's not cute with Junior writing on somebody else's wall. It's not cute with Junior knocking over somebody's knickknacks on their coffee tables and on their shelves. It's not cute with him touching stuff that, no, see, that's where the training was to begin, was when they were like 1 and 2. But they were sitting back laughing, thinking it was cute. Oh, that's so cute. No, that's not cute. So this is one of the mornings I had a double header, because otherwise we'd be talking for the 2 hours. But Raheem, Raheem has written a book called Today is a Good Day, and is about to be released. Actually, today was originally going to be the kickoff, but it's been rescheduled. But the book is Today is a Good Day. Let's talk a little bit about that in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, well, actually, you kind of jumped right into it, because we know that, unfortunately, our children don't read today.
Oh, man.
I mean, yeah, oh, God forbid.
We'll be here all day on that one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's like you said, that's more than one show. And now that they have social network, Yeah, and we both know that, that can go both ways. There's so much information, so there's no excuse for not getting information. But at the same time, it's what is the information that they're getting. And if we just take that back a little bit, the whole idea of today's a good day was because I was getting a lot of phone calls around 10-year-olds, 10, 11, 12-year-olds, even 9-year-olds, and like you said, the behavior that they were displaying. And what I was finding is that parents have values, and they have rules, and they have regulations, they have chores, they have all these things that they tell the kids to do, but they're not consistent. And it's not visible for them to see. So like you said, today it's okay to do this, then tomorrow it's not. And as Mr. Moody would say, they always kill you with those main three questions, why do I have to? Similar to like the young man that said to you when he ran out your office, I ain't got time for this, why do I have to make time for something you want me to do? And then parents always get stuck because they don't know how to respond to that. So when little Joey wants to go to basketball practice, he'll say, well, Mommy, I'm going to do it tomorrow. I did my chores. But they'll let Joey go to practice. They go in the room. All he did was move his clothes from one side of the room to the other. And to him, that's a clean room. But to the parents, of course, they want the stuff hung up.
That's right.
So we have different ideas of what's done the right way, what's appropriate and what's not. And we tend to not display that on an ongoing and a consistent basis. So what came out of the idea to do Today's a Good Day was I wanted to sort of give set up a book, which would not only help young brothers to know what it means and what it's like to have a good day, but also to provide adults with an idea of what that means. So as we look at Today's a Good Day, it actually walks you through the day of a young man living in an urban setting named Ahmad Smith. From the time he wakes up with prayer to the time he goes to the table and have breakfast with mom, there's a dad there, could be stepdad, could be boyfriend, but there's a male figure there, right? Sister, and they're literally having breakfast. And I was told by a few of my friends, man, this book is not realistic. Black folk don't have breakfast together, especially with their kids. I said, well, did you ever think maybe that's the problem?
Exactly.
We say that, it's almost like a woman, like you said, who said, I'm a single mom. Like there's nothing wrong with that. And I said, well, maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's something we need to start doing. We need we need to get our kids off the cell phone first thing in the morning, get them to a table.
Yes.
So we can at least communicate. I said, I didn't say you have to have a full course meal, but we should be having conversation first thing in the morning, following some form of meditation or prayer. So Ahmad Smith Day starts off by him getting up, and you see him getting ready to make prayer. Or he's sitting in his bed, and it's like he's contemplating my day. But there's a smile, and there's this look of, I'm ready. Then he goes and has breakfast with his family. You see him going off to school, and you see the urban setting. You see the things that are taking place around him, which could easily distract him from going, but he's convinced he's going. He's meeting his friend, and they're going to go off to school together, okay? And then you see him going into his building, and the building has a culture set where there are people there who support him, African-American male like Mr. Medley, who in the morning, good morning, young man, Billy at the front gate, at the door, men of stature and of prominence for a position they hold. And throughout the book, he walks you through his entire day. He goes through his day. He meets with his mentor, his guidance counselor, who's also a male. He's in his classroom setting with people of other culture, races, but they're covering science, history. In other words, they're setting goals. After that, he goes directly to his after-school program. At the after-school program, he sits in a meeting with other students, and they're planning how could they get more actively involved in their community. From there, he goes and participates in other activities, basketball, and once again, there's a male there. So the book sets up a day in which this kid is going through the same type of day that all other males from urban settings go through. But there's this mystique out there that, guess what? Young men don't have good days. Their days don't start up good. They definitely are not being educated in their schools. They don't participate in their community. What our young men do is they get up every morning, and God forbid they make it to school safe.
Right.
They get to school. No one in the school cares about them. There's no one meeting with them or talking to them. They're just testing. They get out of school. They go to basketball, football, baseball practice. Or God forbid, they get out of school and get home safe.
That's right.
So there's this misnomer that, everything that happens to the young men in our community, all of them, they're at risk. None of them are passing any tests. None of them are educating themselves. None of them care about their community. None of them care about themselves. None of them have any positive role models whatsoever in their life. So my thing was, I want us to put a book out there that speaks that young men of color have a good day.
That's right.
Enjoy the community they live in. Enjoy being educated. There are men that meet with them and talk to them, and we know that there are brothers in this community who are doing great work as it pertains to basketball, football, baseball. But there's a belief that the only men they ever meet with are athletes, are coaches. And that's not true. Like you said, you just brought Dalton Price into your building, and Dalton Price is a sergeant and has been active in this community even before he was a police officer. Him and I have been doing work in this community for years.
That's right.
So Today is a Good Day sets a precedent that not only is this a book, which is a children's book that I want parents to have on their table, I want it to be next to all the other important books in their life, but I want it to also be in the hands of all the young men so that they have a platform and a format for, hey, what are some things I need to do to have a good day? Things that I'm told I shouldn't do.
Right.
But things that must be done, because if I'm active in my community, that means at some point I might be Mr. Medley as a principal.
That's right.
If I see what an African American male mentor looks like, then I'll know to look for one. As you know, in 2002, they put out the Armistead Act, as you know, which meant, the law actually was a law that said that African American studies, Black history, was supposed to be taught in every school in New Jersey.
That's correct.
And I've been, as a trainer, I've traveled all around this country, and I've been to Africa, I've been a little bit everywhere. And one of the things I would do is, I was still doing the Rites of Passage program at that time, one of the things I would try to do is every city I would go in, I would look to see if there was any books that spoke to African American or males of color. And it would always be the usual books, Mike Goes to School, Mike Shadow's Dad. And it would never be anything about the life of the young man and the things that he has to experience each and every day. It would never speak to his spirit. It would never speak to grief. It would never speak to violence. It would never speak to emotionalism. It would never speak to culture. It would never speak to history. It would always be something about something that took place with him and someone else. It would be Joey Goes to School with Uncle Pete or something along those lines. But no book that I've seen ever spoke to just the story of a young man from an urban setting. So I said, well, instead of looking for one, I'm going to create one. And that's how the whole concept of Today is a Good Day came about. And like I said, as I start to also notice that the Amistad Act, in my opinion, has not taken on the type of lifespan that we wanted it to. And like you said, we realize that our schools and individuals like yourself and a lot of the majority of the principals' hands are tied by state tests all the time, taking out programs that would speak to the type of work that we're talking about
now.
That's
right.
So instead of us sitting back and complaining, we have to recreate. And that's how the whole idea of Today was a good day came about. And that was the whole purpose of the workbook, too, to support a lot of things that I've just shared with you in terms of what else we need to do. So you read this book, then what? And we need to apply these things. If we have young men in our community, and we know there's some unfortunate, horrible things that happen in our community, and unfortunately, a lot of our young men know more about it than we do. A lot of times they know the individuals that have been bullied.
That's right.
Shot, a lot of those services. So we have to be able to address that. And in my Rites of Passage program, I try to build the young men up and then build them to the point where when there are things happen, if someone is shot or if someone is beaten or bullied or there's some form of abuse or there's some type of behavior that occurs, even if it's just being burnt out of your house, how do young men deal with those emotions? How do they deal with that grief? How do they deal with that loss without getting angry and being left out there to try to handle it on their own? So Today's a Good Day. Once again, suppose I just had a situation, I just had this happen the other night, one of my young men would jump. So my position is, how do I get him to deal with that behavior, that feeling of no one's there, or that feeling of feeling like I'm left out there on my own? How do I do that? So I hope and pray that this book, when it's finally out there, and I know it will in one capacity, I'll continue to use it in my work. But like I said, I want us to be able to say, hey, look, there is a book on the shelf specifically for me. There's a book that speaks to me that says, hey, just like when I see Mr. Medley, I'm not myself today. So many men say, hey, look, man, here's a book for you. Today's a good day. I want you to read this book, and I want you to take the African-American paradigm, which is in the back of the book, those 7 stages that I spoke to you about earlier, and I want you to write your name on that, and I want you to repeat those 7 stages every day. God is the strength of my life. I love my history and my culture. I love my community. And like us, if we say it enough times, we start to believe it and start to change some of our thoughts about ourselves, our community, our family, and the role that we play. And within the context of the book, Mark, is the Rites of Passage program. So if everything that he's doing, it speaks to him also participating in his Rites of Passage program. And he's proud of it. He's excited about it. You know, still like sports, still like the arts, still like the science, you know, but it speaks to being actively proactive in his community.
Well, you know, again, first off, you know, once I get a copy of the book, that's exactly what I'm going to do, because that's the gifts that I give is book every year. And I already ordered the book for this year. My 8th graders, as a part of their graduation gift, that's what they get as a parting gift, is a book. And that's what I give as gifts. Most people know if they get a gift from me, it's probably going to be either a book gift card from Barnes & Noble or one of the other bookstores or a book itself. Here. And so you know now when I get a copy of that we're going to be working with this book with our boys. And again, my observation of trouble challenging kids is if you engage them the correct way, or if I don't even want to say the correct way, if you've used different strategies that are working to engage them, and you do have to try a few. Because, I mean, once you look and see that lecture doesn't work, you got to try something else. Right. Then you do hands-on, okay? Then you try something else. And then you do, you know, we're taking you out on this trip. You do something. But once you get them, back to what you said earlier about relationship, because that's what they're looking for. That's what's missing at home.
That's right.
Years ago, I read this book called The Psychology of Touch. And that book opened my eyes as to why the kids hit so much, because I couldn't figure out why do these kids hit so much. But that book gets into how, as human beings, that we have to have touch. And so it talks about, of course, hugging and kissing, and not the type of, we're not talking about erotic love here. We're talking about just like you say, in the morning before you get ready to go to school, you give them a hug. These kids are not getting that. So what came to my mind was, I would rather have the touch of hitting than no touch at all. And that's what kind of opened my eyes. I said, this is why they hit so much, because they're lacking the right type of touches, so that even because I'm not getting the right type of touch, I'll take the wrong type of touch rather than no touch. And it's about training. It is about teaching. It is about relationship. And if I can get teachers and everyone else that works with kids to understand that, we would have even our most challenging kid would break. It was I said, I sent an email to the staff yesterday. Said, look, this is a metaphor of breaking a mare or a stallion. Metaphorically, what we're trying to do here is to break a mare. But once it's broken, we're going to have us a good horse. So that's what we're doing here. I mean, we're literally taking folks. And I'm going to go back again, because I don't. My kids and my staff and everybody know I don't make excuses for folks. I don't. Because my thing is, you know what? If we work with you, we have a relationship, we teach you the right way, all of that stuff will come into line. And that's exactly what you're doing. And I'm sitting here, I'm jotting down names, because when I go home, I'm going to send an email to Darlene. I'm sending an email to Sharon. You'll be copied on it, of different guys that I want to come in and address our boys. And you named some of them this morning. And I know in March we're doing a lot of testing, but you can best believe in April, folks going to be coming in talking to our children.
That's right. Yep. And like you said, we'll establish a relationship where it could be ongoing. And a lot of the men that I work with, they love it, man. They look forward to it. You know, they're the ones, hey, here's my number, young man. I mean, you know, and introducing them, because like you said, this might not be the fit. But guess what? There's a program over here.
Right.
This program's over here. And I always tell parents, listen, when you call me, when I get those phone calls, and sometimes, man, I get like 3 a day. And I tell them, I can't talk to you right now because I think you need to understand how a Rites of Passage program works. This ain't pick Johnny up and take him to the movies on Monday, and then we'll see what happens. You know, this is serious work. And I find, Mark, like you said, that with a lot of the young men that come through, the relationship is such that they look for it. You know, it's like, man, if I have to cancel a group, if I don't pick them up, oh man, that's the end of that's a problem. Then they blame it on all the other brothers who couldn't come as well. Like, you know, you don't have no life. I am your life. What you mean we having group? You know, what you mean we having group? You know, like this happened. So snow is only 5 inches. It's only 5 feet of snow. What are you talking about? You know, why the school's closing all the time? We can't have group. You know, so like you say, I think that you're 100% right, because I know you use All Pro Dads, you know,
that's
and
24/7
Dads, and there's a lot of good programs out there that we can implement. But like you said, time, bodies, and parenting support is key, because I always tell parents, look, I have your son from after school till 6, but I need you to implement the rest of what we talk about and be consistent with it. And some parents get upset because their sons will say that to them. Well, you the one not consistent. I'll buy into it if but then they fold at the hip, and then they want to blame everybody else. Like, well, look, you got some strategies. Everything has to be critiqued and used and worked on, and you try this and that doesn't work, you try that. But like you said, it has to be something that if we put it in front of them, they then look at us and go, okay, so this is going to be today and that's it? Because if that's the case, I'll go back to doing what I'm doing.
Right. But, I mean, I think the other day when we were meeting and you did that role play, that was more powerful than you recognized, because me and all the other folks in the room, we caught on to what you were doing. That's why we didn't say anything.
Exactly.
And the parent says she did know, but it was like, okay, maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But it was because that's exactly the type of pushback you will get from the teenagers or the child. And you better have some cogent answers for them, because this little high-level, pithy, shallow answers is not doing it for them.
No. They look for that loophole. And they get that loophole, and they throw it back at you. And like I tell some parents, look, it's okay to be honest. It's okay to say I don't know. It's okay to say I didn't do that right. But nevertheless, I'm still the adult authority in this house, and things still have to be the way I want them to be and the way they're supposed to be, so that we can move forward. We're in this together.
That's right.
And things in this house, like, look, my father said there are 3 things that you must do, and you heard me say this when we got our awards to Black History Month. You have to go to church. You have to go to school. You got to get a job.
That's
right. Not up for debate. You want to play basketball, tennis, football, look, you want to dance, I don't care what you do. But those 3 things are going to happen. Now, that was the outer. The inner was everybody in this house has a responsibility, a duty, a chore, and I want them done. And it was, like I said, it was 8 of us squeezed into a low spot, but you knew that you had to do this. There was no ifs and buts about it. And therefore, when you didn't, the just reward was you weren't going anywhere, you weren't doing anything. And all of us also had the responsibility, especially the men, was you had to learn how to look. You got to know how to wash your own clothes. You got to know how to cook for yourself. And unfortunate thing we see happening now with a lot of moms that are raising their sons, they allowing them to not only be their son, but to be their man, their husband, the head of the house.
That's right. And Sharon and Kemper and all of them told them that same thing Thursday morning. That's exactly right.
Yeah, and they know it, but they just need somebody to say, okay, I know it, so what do I do? Because that's when they go, well, what do I do? I don't know what else to do. And that's where the discussion in the window starts to open. And Mr. Moody always called that the window period, where we have to get in there when the window's open with parents and kids and ourselves and say, okay, this is the time in which we can get in. Now, once they open it, as you know, that's when you got to get in, and you got to be specifically clear around what it is you expect and what it is you want.
That's
and
right.
Then the other thing, especially with Today is a Good Day, that I like about the book, is that it challenges the young man and parents to set a high standard for what you want from your son. It's like, remember, like you said in that same meeting, we asked the parents, so what is it that you want from your son? What is it how do you see him? And what is it that you expect of him? And what standard, what goal do you have for him? And it was like, well, he can play football, but that's not what I asked you. If you remember that conversation. So
that's
parents,
right.
I want him to get all A's, but you set the bar that a C is okay. And then you want him to get all A's to do what with it?
Right.
And so those are other areas that within the book, it challenges the young man to look at science, to look at history, to look at culture, to look at social studies, and apply that to somewhere within everything else that he's doing, because the principles speak to that. So in every phase of the work that we do in B.U.D.S and in the book, there's something that supports the other. So you don't get away. Well, I don't like, man, the routine. A majority of our young men will tell you, especially in the high schools and across the board, they're failing in math. They're failing in reading science.
Look, let me tell you something. When I looked at and I shared this with the parents the other morning, as well as one of them boys I was hollering at yesterday, because they happen to be 7th graders. When I looked at my 7th grade scores for the last benchmark test they took, Raheem, I had 77 kids take the test. Only 3 were at or proficient. So one of the young men, I said, let me ask you a question. I said, out of 77 kids that took this test, how many do you think passed? The young man said, maybe about 40. I said, son, that's a good number because that would put me a little bit over half. I said, I said, but no, 77 took the test. 3 passed it. The kid's eyes got wide. And I said, that's right, son, 3. Matter of fact, I thought I was gone into sermon mode yesterday with 77 and 3. Because I had to keep repeating 3, 77, 3. So it was like out of 77 7th graders that took this particular math test, 3 passed.
Wow.
So that's why I try to help them connect the dots. This is why we don't have time for fooling around with hitting and name calling and running the hallways and so forth and so on, because we're not doing what this building or what we're coming here to do.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
But so I tell you what, hang on the line. My guest hasn't called in yet, so we're going to keep talking until she calls, if she calls, because I know sometimes things happen. I'm going to go ahead and shift us over into the 7 o'clock hour. I'm awaiting my second guest to call, but we're going to keep talking until she get here. So let me flip over and give the weather and all that good stuff again. Okay. And then when she calls in, I'll conference her in, and then we'll transition over if she calls. So hang on, everybody.
Brave New Radio. Give us your tired, your poor, your hungry, your rockers, your punks, your freaks, your geeks, your Greeks, your party animals, your gangsters, your commuters, your residents, your students, your alums, your lawyers, your truckers, your calls, your tweets. And we'll give you rock, classic, indie, punk, alternative, easy, hard, raps, rhymes, mixes, and drops. We'll give you kick-ass music because we're WPSC 88.7 FM, Brave New Radio. Sound good?
WPSC FM 88.7, Wayne, New Jersey.
Part of the William Paterson Broadcast Network, Brave New Radio.
Straight from the WP 88.7 FM Weather Center, here's your local forecast.
Right now, 5.4 degrees. We're working our way up to a high of 29. I know that's right, with a low tonight of 8. It's going to be sunny, though, except we're only getting to 29. Tonight, clear, 8. Tomorrow, Sunday, variable clouds with snow showers, high of 32. And then Sunday night, periods of snow in the evening will transition to a wintry mix overnight, 1 to 3 inches. So that's going to make driving fun on Monday morning. Monday, though, it will have partly cloudy skies, high of 38, 20% chance of precipitation, low of 13 Monday night. And on Tuesday, a mix of clouds and sun in the morning, followed by cloudy skies during the afternoon, high near 35. A mix of wintry precipitation in the evening, 100% chance of that precipitation, 1 to 3 inches Tuesday night, whether it be snow, rain, 100% chance of it. And then Wednesday, cloudy with periods of light rain, high of 48, low of 30. Well, that takes us, or gives you the weather from our WP 88.7 FM Weather Center. If you've just joined us, my guest is Raheem Smallwood. This morning was originally scheduled to be a Reading Circle doubleheader, so either my next guest is running late or is overslept or something else has happened or she's mixed up the time. You know, a lot of times, whenever I send the emails out, I have to be very clear that it's a.m. and Eastern time, because sometimes the guests think it's 7 o'clock p.m. So, I'll get back in touch with them and they say, I thought it was at night. No. It's early morning. So a lot of crazy things happen with an early morning talk show that people
you remember what I said to you, right? I said, so I'll talk to you at 10, right? You say, oh, no, it's 6 a.m. I said, why?
That's exactly what happens. People get, and so I have to be very clear. Usually in the emails, I bold it, I highlight it, I do all kinds of things to make sure that people understand we are talking the morning hours, a.m. hours. And so sometimes things happen. People, they didn't get the number, they didn't know it. So maybe that's what happened with my next guest. But in any event, like I said, if I hadn't had it scheduled, we would be able to continue our conversation, which I said is so important. I mean, I don't think, because I live this every day, I don't, right. And maybe people think well, he's biased or either, he can't be able to. No, I can't be, because I know what I see. And I know what I experience. I know what, in a city like Paterson, we're the 3rd largest city in the state of New Jersey, and I know people think nothing good comes out of Paterson. That's not true. A whole lot of good comes out of Paterson. But I do know our challenges and what we see. And what we're talking about this morning is how some of these can be addressed. And I do declare that if we can get to these boys' minds, if we can get in some of these homes, as a matter of fact, even if we could stop some of this because, I rolled the tape all the way back. I tell people all the time, look, I ain't judging nobody. I'm not judging nobody. But truth be told, some of these were just some bad decisions at the conception and creation of these children. You have parents that had no intent of parenting when these children were being made. No intent. And they they honestly believe, for many of them, whether they say it or not say it, they honestly believe their responsibility stopped at the hospital when they gave birth. That at this point, everybody else is supposed to raise them, whether it be the school, whether it be the church, whether it be the government, whether it be whoever. Unfortunately, there are too many people that fall in that category, and you have children raising themselves, which now puts the burden of the raising on everyone else, and the kids are doing what they're doing, going back to what we said earlier about they've never been taught to do the right thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then, I think that's a very valid point. And a lot of the parents raise their kids the way they were raised, and sometimes they don't even realize that there's some damage there.
No, there's some majorly damage.
And like you said, you add the fact that whoever the partner was, the whole idea of being with that partner, and we know that connection that happens when you get together with someone, it takes on a whole other life of its own. Then you bring another life into that.
Right.
And like you said, you were not ready. And as quiet as kept, a lot of times when I go to, because, I do even though I do the Males to Men Fatherhood program, I also have the POP program, which is an acronym for Parent Linking Program, and that's through the state. And that's the partnership between Department of Health and Human Services school-based program, JFK High School, and Head Start, so that there are 12 slots provided through a grant from Prevent Child Abuse that allows 12 dads and moms, high school students, to take their children to Head Start in the morning, the infant toddler, and go to school. And what we find interesting is that most of what they need is parenting skills, and the majority of them did not, as you said, plan to be parents. So they plan to be in a relationship of some kind, but not plan to be parents. So what we have to look at is, as you stated, I think you hit it right on the head, when do you start preparing for the idea that if I do this act, this is going to be the outcome, and this is what it's going to look like. But if that's been the act throughout the generations, and that's the act in your household, it's almost going back to what a kid says, well, nobody in my family graduated high school, so my behavior is such that I don't know what that looks like. You know what I'm saying? Nobody in my family went to college, so I don't know what that looks like. And we hear young people sometimes talk about that. Well, my mom had me at 19, and she was all right. My mom had me at 16, and look how she came out. Well, your mom right now is working 3 jobs, and probably a fourth because she's now not only grandma, but mom all over again. And here we have this cycle that has to be broken.
That's right.
Has to be broken. And like you said, unfortunately, it falls more so on our young men. And if that is not addressed, what we see happening is then the state comes in and addresses it in its own way. And usually that's with all these false titles of how young men are out of control based on what? Well, now they need special education.
Right.
They need that attention deficit disorder. Or we're going to diagnose it as ADHD, attention deficit hyper disorder. And my other favorite is the one that I love sitting in a lot, and I get to go and sit in on some of the special ed meetings and child study team meetings. And the other one is, the oppositional defiant disorder. And all these titles and everything else come out. And then I go, well, I'm looking at his grades, though. I'm looking at his transcript, and this kid has aced almost every test you put in front of him.
Right.
So we're not talking about some type of mental disorder here, because those are not mental disorders, as we know. But we're talking about behavior.
That's
so we
right.
have to do a Sankofa and say, where did that start? Let's start there. We do have to address the behavior that he or she is displaying now, but we want to look at all of his history, not just this portion, all of it, which means you also got to look at mom's history. You got to look at dad's history. Going back to what you've been saying throughout this morning, where do things start? Everything has a start, and we have to find out what are the strategies, what are the values, what are the beliefs, what's the history, how does all that play into this now finished product, this angry young man.
That's right.
Who lives vicariously through what? Sports, The
Right.
music that they put on their head that keeps them safe, the hoodies that they wear over their head. I had to tell one of my guys, you ain't no, take that off your head. You ain't no Klansman.
That
You know,
right, and I do the
like
same thing daily.
that.
You have to see how I have to walk through the cafeteria, and we're in the auditorium of pulling hoods off heads, of which kids know the rule is not to wear hoods. They'll put that hood on regardless, but you're absolutely right. I mean, you would think they were either in the Klan or part of ISIS or something, the way they keep their heads covered up. I mean, it really is kind of like ridiculous. And you know the rule is no head coverings for males in the building. And you're right in terms of, as we were talking about, going back to the root and to the start. And that's where, I'm always, and you can call me, and I don't like political correctness, you can call me whatever you want to call me, but the bottom line is if we don't get to the root, it's not going to be solved. And this goes back to, because everything is connected. Once we start teaching these boys, look now, don't go out here and father a child that you know you're not going to support. Don't go out here and make a child and then you're going to walk away from that girl, as we call it, hit it and quit it. Mm-hmm. We don't go out here because you're causing other societal issues. And once we start really breaking that down for them to understand what we're talking about, because, of course, when we say societal issues, they're not going to know what we're talking about until we break that down and help them understand how it connects to economics, how it connects to violence, how it connects to everything else. But see, there again, once that teaching, and then you were going back talking about the government, about the state stepping in. Whenever we started getting into these various assistance programs, Raheem, if you think about it, you think about the assistance programs that was designed for the male not to be in the house. That's that's the silliest thing in the world to me, that you have a system that the only way you get the money is the male can't be in the house.
You got it.
So now you had all these other schemes going on where Mama's Payday, or whatever they called it, Mom's Day, Dad's Day, Father's Day, where he come around once a month when the check come, or either you got the mother playing all these games, hiding the man, or either every time the social workers now come in, they're putting all the man's stuff around, all kinds of craziness. When if you were going to have an assistance program, you would think the program would be, all right, let's see if we can get that family to stick together, opposed to splitting it apart. So that's contributed to it as well.
Yes, it does. Without question. We know for a fact, without question. And you add to that the fact that there are no jobs in our city for young men, and I mean, Paterson, like you said, third largest city in New Jersey, and every time we turn around, regardless of which mayor it is, we have to fight with the state to convince them that we are a city of first class. And you and I both know when you're a city of first class, you get first class money.
That's
but
right.
It's so ironic because, and we need our listening audience to do this, if you pull up stats for Paterson, it always says 149,000. They will never allow you to reach 150. So those individuals that make policy and provide up dollars and send out dollars, can say, well, we're not sending you enough money to do A, B, C, D, and E because, number one, you're not a city of first class. And people understand how important that is, that pertains to, as you and I both know, state takeover being here as long as it has, because you have a governor who says, I don't support the state county. I don't support Paterson. Don't support me, I ain't supporting you. So as long as those individuals are in office, guess what's going to happen? There's going to be a continuous attack on our schools and on our teachers. And then you and I both know a majority of the people that teach in our city are not from our city, but there was a time when the majority of them were.
That's correct.
I went to school 28, and my teacher used to walk me to school. She lived right in the towers. I mean, we would walk to school together. The cafeteria staff lives in the city. You would get out of school and go right to the closest church. I mean, your mom didn't have to pick you up. All the churches were open. Activities were everywhere. Now we have empty lots and buildings, broke down buildings. We have enough of those that most of them are owned by the banks. Those things would just not exist.
Well, it's interesting you would say that because
took a hold. I mean, there was a time when you wouldn't have to go look for men to bring them into the building. They would automatically be there. Now you got to go find that one. So like you said, it's just been, a whole complete shift in terms of how we see ourselves and how we deal with our kids and how our community looks.
That's right.
And like you said, we have to take control of Dr. Frank Napier building. We have to take control of that whole area. We have to take control of Darwin again and Auburn. And, we have to really look very, very close at this thing because whether people like to believe it or not, we can look and say it's all the people that live there, it's the people that live in Paterson, but there's a major attack. There's a major, major plan to keep young boys going to jail.
No, it really is, and it's interesting. It's interesting you were saying about the teachers and administrators living in the community because I was addressing a parent. I was having parent meeting one morning, and I had referenced the fact. I said, "Look, let me help you understand something. I only live a few blocks away from this school. I live in the same area that you live in, and their whole manner and tone and everything shifted. They didn't realize that. They thought I was coming out, and yeah, hey, if I decide to leave and go to another community, so be it. But they thought I was coming in from one of the suburbs into the city, and they didn't realize that I only lived a few blocks away. And their whole countenance changed. They were like, yes, I live drive time, I live 5 minutes from here. I could ride my bicycle or I could walk to work on a good morning. And their whole relationship and countenance changed when I said that. So even that plays a role in it. You're right. They think a lot of the folks are coming in and out, taking the city's money, going back to their communities. And truth be told, in some respects, it is. Now, I think my second guest has called. And Cassandra, is that you?
Yes, it's me.
All right, you are here. You're a part of a Reading Circle doubleheader, so I'm glad you're on. I'm going to introduce you two over the air because, interestingly enough, the topics are somewhat related. Raheem Smallwood, Cassandra Freeman, Raheem Smallwood.
Good morning, Cassandra.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. And how are you?
Wonderful. Thank you.
Good. Now, Cassandra, Raheem works predominantly, he works with all children, but we're working predominantly with African-American males, children, our boys. Mm-hmm. And Cassandra actually works with helping women manifest their dreams. And so it dovetails with each other because I'm going to introduce Cassandra while I have her here. It says, I have such a heart for helping women to manifest their dreams. I am the founder and CEO of Thoughtful Inspirations. My products, such as the Goal Calendar and books such as Never Give Up and e-classes such as Stay Motivated to Achieve Your Goals, help many women achieve their most outrageous goals and turn their doubts into beliefs. What excites me most is seeing women's lives transform as they utilize my products and engage with me. I am known for inspiring women to transform into the best versions of themselves and showing them they have the courage within themselves to go after and fulfill their wildest dreams. With a successful family of 6, an amazing business, a certificate of photographic technology, a bachelor's degree, and a master's degree in innovation and entrepreneurship, I successfully show women how, yes, you can be a great mom, wife, live your dreams, and live an inspired life. I was the winner of Dr. Stacia Pierce's Success Conference Video Contest speaker at the Girl Talk event. I also inspire hundreds of women every day to start going after their dreams. Allow me to help you achieve your goals. So, Cassandra, welcome to the Reading Circle microphones and audience.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here today.
Well, I tell you, when I got your email back, when I emailed you originally to be on the show, it came back with such energy. I said, wow, I love her spirit. I could tell the way she was like, let's do this. I'm excited. So on and so on. So I said, I got to get her on it. And as it turns out, this is a wonderful time. Actually, if you don't mind, if either one of you don't, and Raheem, I know we've been on since about 6, so you can drop whenever you feel free. But the conversations and what both of you are trying to do are connected. Because Cassandra, Raheem, we're trying to hit it from the child in terms of inspiring African-American male boys in particular. And we were talking about this whole notion of single mom, because a lot of the boys that we deal with in the urban area are coming from homes with a single mom. And now you're talking about inspiring women to be their best. So there is a connection there. So, Cassandra, we're on for as long as we need to be between now and 9 o'clock. Raheem, we're on for as long as you need to be until you need to go or drop off, because I know we've been talking a while. But this conversation for both women and children, and men for that matter, is so important. And so when you joined in, Cassandra, we were talking about the whole situation in the various home lives with our boys and what they need and what others need to do, so forth and so on. So I thank both of you for taking time to be with me here on the Reading Circle this morning. And both of you, not only do you do what you do, but you're both authors. So, Raheem, I tell you what, let's talk a little bit more about Today is a Good Day, and then I'm going to transition over to Cassandra. And those, if you want to join the conversation with each other, feel free to. All right. So again, Raheem, as we're wrapping up, Today is a Good Day. Kind of give us a where is it going to be available? How can folks get on?
It's going to be available on my Facebook page, which is Raheem B.U.D.S.
And will it be available online? Are you going to put it in the bookstores? Are you going to?
Yeah. Eventually, it's going to be in the bookstores. I'm going to start out with it online. Then it's going to be in the bookstores. I'm going to look to do it Barnes & Noble. I really want to reach out to a really good bookstore, a great bookstore in Newark called Source of Knowledge on Broad Street, so I'm going to have it there. And it's going to be available online, so once I get the kickoff going, I'm going to make sure that I get you all the information so that you can get it to all your listening audience. And like I said, they can go on my page, Raheem Smallwood, B.U.D.S, Brothers United Developing Spiritually, my Facebook page, and they can read more about B.U.D.S, more about the book. My newsletter is on there, and I'll make sure that I keep your listening audience abreast as to how things are going with the book and where it'll be available. Because the other thing I need people to know is that I'm self-publishing.
That's right. And the technology in 2015 allows us to do that. And so Cassandra, now this is where what you're doing becomes so important, because we're talking about this whole notion of our wayward kids, and they're not wayward just for the sake of being wayward. A lot of them are wayward because they've never been taught. And a lot of this is connected to women or girls who have now birthed children that, one, they may not have really intended to do to begin with. And where I'm going with this is a lot of that happens because of low self-esteem. Because for a lot of our girls, or a lot of our women, because of the lack of self-esteem, any young man that comes along and whispers the words, "I love you," they're willing to give up their treasure. Right. And a lot of times they give up their treasure, and now we have a child along the way who's come along, and then neither the man nor the female were willing and ready to now start raising children, and they become wards of everyone else. So that's kind of where Raheem and I have been talking, and this is where what you're doing is so, because once we get the women understanding just how much power they have, right. Because I know the brothers are going to hate me, because I say when I do write my book, I know the brothers are going to hate me, because I know there's some slack brothers out there. But the reason the brothers can be slack is because the women allow that. You get what you continue to get what you allow. And as long as the women don't realize how much power they have, we're going to keep getting what we're getting. And the work that you're doing in terms of changing their mindset, that's why that's so critical. And so it all connects. So, Raheem, feel free to stay in, tune in, listen in. You want to chime in, but I'm going to transition over as soon as I share this information with the folks, with Cassandra, and I'll keep the listening audience abreast of when Today's a Good Day. Is that the title of it?
Today's a Good Day.
When Today is a Good Day is released, I know I want to get my copy. And
yes, you are.
So feel free. You can hang on.
Next week, as a matter of fact.
Okay, you can hang on and listen as long as you want. But I'm going to start talking with Cassandra about her work with females, with the women.
Can I just do this real fast?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, because I have to leave. I just want to leave my number, because we do want parents to contact me if I could be of any assistance in reference to information, resources, and strategies and working with our boys. I want them to be able to call me. So I'm going to leave my number. And I also want to be able to. Will you have Cassandra's information on your site?
I will. Matter of fact, both of your.
I want to get her information, because I have a right to pass this program for young ladies too, and I love for her to come out and address those young ladies and their moms. So I do want to be able to tap back into Cassandra at some point.
Well, one of the good things about the show is we do get a chance to network. I mean, over the 14 years I've been on the air, I've met some wonderful people, and we can connect up with others, because each one of us can support it. There's enough out here for all of us.
That's right. Oh, it's enough work.
Yeah, it is.
It's enough work for all of us.
So I'll connect.
We open chase, man.
Right. So I'll connect you to. That's right. So, all right, leave your number by all means. Give your number again to the listening audience, and then I'm going to share some information, and then Cassandra and I is going to press on.
You got it. Raheem Smallwood, 973-747-4139. And that is a contact line for parents who are just looking for information, resources, support, and strategies in working with their boys and daughters too, but more so the young men of African American descent. So thank you for having me on, my brother. I appreciate you. Love you. God will continue to bless you for the work you're doing. And Cassandra, I hope to speak with you as well. Continue your work.
Likewise, thank you.
Same here.
You're very welcome.
And for those in the listening audience, if you weren't, a couple of weeks ago, you heard me say that I was given an award by the city of Paterson, the Frederick Douglass Award. Raheem was on that same award panel. And Raheem, which award did you receive? I had Frederick Douglass. Who are you?
Benjamin E. Mays.
That's right. Raheem received the Benjamin.
Work with men, young men. Yeah.
That's right. He received the Benjamin E. Mays Award, and I had received the Frederick Douglass Award, and we were on that same panel. Matter of fact, for those of you who received the Herald News or the Paterson Press, or it was a couple other newspapers that had made, our picture was in there, and that was me, Dwayne, and Raheem that was doing all that laughing on the stage. And so we were on that panel together, and I thank you for rising early to join me, and I wish you nothing but success with Today is a Good Day.
I thank you, sir, for having me on the show.
All right. Have a great day now. Be blessed.
Have a great
All
day.
right, I'm gonna continue to listen, but I just have to get ready to go.
No, that works. So just get on your speaker, go on your computer to gobrave.org and turn on your speakers. You're good to go.
You got it.
All right. Take care.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.